The United States of America can be very different from one state to another, but one thing every state has in common is agriculture. And the farms across America are like the patchwork of a quilt that binds our nation together, and each state is represented in their own unique way.
Hey everyone, I'm Charlie Behrens and welcome to the Agricultural States of America. We're going to test your knowledge about the agriculture of different states and hopefully give you a little bit of appreciation for all the great things that farmers are producing across America. Now today we're talking about the state that's home to big hats, bourbon, fast horses, and mint juleps. And if you put your money on Kentucky, well, that horse just won the Derby. If you didn't, don't worry, I am here to teach you a little bit more about the bluegrass state. So why is Kentucky named the bluegrass state when the grass is green? Now some say it's because the early settlers saw a bluish tint in the Kentucky pastures. Maybe they did, maybe it was the booze. Either way, the name stuck. Bluegrass is actually a species of grass that's ideal for grazing and is found in many of the pastures across the state. Now you're probably wondering, why are pastures so important to Kentuckians? Well, it's because the state's deep appreciation for all things horses. Kentucky is the nation's leading producer of horses, including everything from mules to ponies to purebreds and thoroughbreds. And of course, we can't forget about the Kentucky Derby, the annual horse race in Louisville that takes place on the first Saturday in May and is dubbed the Run for the Roses. It's a beautiful day. A day the entire country gets a pass on wearing seersuckers and floppy hats with flowers, sometimes wearing them together. When the steeds aren't racing, visitors can tour farms and admire these four-legged athletes and maybe get a hot tip for the Preakness or the Belmont Stakes. And rumor has it those horses even take bribes in the form of carrots and apples. So bring your groceries. And while horses are number one, coming in at a close second are beef cattle. Kentucky raises more beef cattle than any other state east of the Mississippi. And of course, we can't forget about pigs, chickens, goats, and sheep. Speaking of sheep, did you know that in Western Kentucky, the traditional meat of pitmasters and barbecue lovers is mutton? Now allow me to clarify, the meat, not the bad beard. With techniques perfected over time and served with a dipping sauce of vinegar and hot peppers, this famous barbecue tradition was born. The state also grows plenty of wheat, soybeans, and corn. It's also important to note that Kentucky is a major player in growing oak trees for lumber. So now let's discuss how corn and lumber relate. And to do that, we gotta talk about bourbon. See, now I piqued your interest. Kentucky produces 95% of the world's supply of bourbon whiskey. In fact, there are more barrels of bourbon being aged in Kentucky than the state has people. As of 2019, that number surged to double the population with more than 9 million barrels in total. That is a 2-to-1 ratio in favor of hooch, which is the kind of math I can get behind. For a whiskey to be considered a bourbon though, it has to be made with at least 51% corn and can only be aged in a brand new charred oak barrel. So to be the best bourbon in the world, you need Kentucky, at least according to my extensive research on the issue. Now Kentucky sits on a bed of blue limestone that allows water to flow through and collect minerals that add personality and flavor to the water. Kentucky also has unique weather extremes. It's very hot in the summer, very cold in the winter, which is perfect for bourbon production. When the barrels expand, the whiskey seeps in and absorbs the properties of the charred wood. Then when the temperatures are cold, the barrel contracts and the whiskey is pushed out of the wood, adding flavor and a golden color. You know, I'm not sure why they didn't just teach science in terms of bourbon, but I think I finally understand chemistry. But what about all the used barrels? Well, Kentucky exports them around the world for the production of other spirits like Canadian Scotch, Irish whiskey, Mexican tequila, and even French wine. Who would have ever guessed I'd be jealous of a barrel? Well, that's all the time we have for now, but you can always go to pivotbio.com/agstates to explore more about the agriculture of your favorite states and test your knowledge to win great prizes and more. All right, we'll see you next time on the Agricultural States of America.